let's go ahead and let's just talk about the bye week. And probably by the time we're done talking about the bye week, we will probably hit that deadline.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be. I mean, it's a little bit less of a sad bye week because we just got Chase Young, but if there's one thing that needs to change, Purdy's just got to eliminate those turnovers, and Kyle Shanahan's got to put him in better situations to where he's not going to be playing from behind. And really, a lot of that stems from Steve Wilks. Steve Wilks has to make those adjustments, and you can't have quarterbacks completing like 80+% of their passes. Joe Burrow completed like what? Was it 28 of 32?
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't even do that against air. I think,
yeah.
And I got that idea from Grant. Grant said, like, quarterbacks can't even do that against air sometimes. Like, I know I couldn't do it. Like, if I was just like walking through it.
Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't.
Jimmy Garoppolo would be lucky to be selling hot dogs at the Raiders Stadium in 3 years. No, but I mean, seriously though, like in all actuality, Shanahan has got to. He's got to be. I've been saying this like all season. He's got to be better at his clock management and game time situations. When you're down, like it, you can see that he lacks some trust of his quarterback, like when he's down, because they're still trying to run the ball. And then you know what exactly what I'm looking at when I see that. I see the clock milking down, and I'm like, what are you doing? But then he calls a pass play, and then it's fucking picked off. Like, then it's like, all right, I see why you're doing what you're doing. But, like, really, when I complained about it all offseason, everybody's like, chill, Purdy's the real deal. Purdy's the real deal. Like, I think Purdy will be fine. It's just, it's an endless cycle of drama for the 49ers. It never subsides. And really, I think the Niners are going to get healthier after the bye week. They're going to start going back to playing Niner football, being able to really spread out the field a little bit more. Shanahan's just got to go back in the drawing, go back to the drawing board and get more creative and, get Debo. I mean, he hasn't been able to the past couple of weeks, and I think he did against Cleveland before he got hurt. So, not to knock Shanahan on this, but get Debo involved in the backfield a little bit more. Line up McCaffrey and Debo in the backfield. You know how crazy that would be, a triple option with the two of them?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the offense needs to get more creative. Honestly, I think Shanahan needs to focus on building leads in games. If this defense, which the defense should get better with Chase Young, but if this defense is going to be occasionally a pass funnel, like the offense needs to get off to a lead, and I'm not saying this is like the main thing that's going to solve this, but just something that I feel like is a big difference from 2019 is, like you said, this has turned into the Carolina Panthers offense where it's just McCaffrey. I think they should integrate Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason more, and not like drastically, but I think like bring them into the game. You can even put McCaffrey out like in the slot just as like, a little decoy, and then run like a delayed draw and you get 6 yards because your offensive line is going to fucking tear through the defensive line and they're not going to see it coming. You know what I mean?
Well, like, what I would like to see is like a little bit of a return to 2019 in terms of, teams knew that they were going to run the ball, but they would just fucking come at you. It didn't matter.
They would like own the time of possession.
We'll line up with you guys. It's coming. We know it's coming. We're just gonna run it down your throat. Pause. But Jordan Mason, I feel like, is the perfect back to do that. He's averaging like 6 yards per carry,
probably,
but not good enough to see the field. I understand McCaffrey spreads out the field because you can do so much more with him, but you have to manage his load. You can't just like absolutely wear him down and then by the end of the season you're like stuck platooning, you know?
Well,
That's
yeah,
how
I
to
mean,
ruin, that's how to ruin your chances to win the Super Bowl.
exactly. We were talking earlier about the Niners MVP that we talked about before the season started, between Trent Williams, Brock Purdy, and McCaffrey. I mean, do you think this team can win a Super Bowl if McCaffrey's out? I don't know. He's that dynamic. Like, could they?
Well,
Yeah,
what the
they
hell will they
could.
do? They run the
But
whole offense through McCaffrey right now.
exactly. So I think it would be wise of them to lighten his workload, maybe a couple weeks after the bye week, leaning towards the playoffs. Now, if you're in a fight for the 1 seed or 2 seed, yeah, you're going to do everything you can to win. And I mean, with just 3 straight losses, there's going to be a fight. You guys are going to have to fight to get back up. I mean, I wanted to talk about the upcoming schedule, but also the current standings in the league. So upcoming schedule for the Niners. Obviously, the bye week, week 9, week 10 at Jacksonville, who is 6-2. I think they're currently the 3rd seed in the AFC. They're like kind of hot right now. ETN's on fire. I think Trevor Lawrence still has a lot of growth to be had, but they're playing pretty good football. Week 11 at home against Tampa Bay. They're in the running for their division, but they're not special. The Niners should beat them. Week 12 at Seattle. Currently maybe the 4 seed or 3 seed in the NFC, above the Niners in the division. The Seahawks currently first in the NFC West. That's going to be Thursday Night Football at Seattle. And then the Niners get a nice week and a half break. Well, not week and a half. Yeah, week and a half break because they play on Thursday. Then they go to Philadelphia. Now, having that extra 3 days of a break is nice for a game against Philly. Obviously, that's the game of the year in the NFC, I'd say. And then the next week, you come back home against Seattle. So within 3 weeks, you play Seattle twice. That's a huge stretch. Those five games. Jacksonville, playoff team. Tampa Bay, potential playoff team. But then Seattle, Philly, Seattle, huge games.
So that's going to be a huge 3-week span. And honestly, the Niners I think they'll be happy to take 2 out of those 3.
Yeah.
Ideally, you want all of them, but I feel like
think
realistically, they need 2 of them. And
you have
they're
to
probably
beat
going to be the 2 Seattle ones.
Yeah, you have to beat Seattle. You have to win the division and get home field advantage as much as you can. But, if you can put a dent in Philly and potentially lead yourself towards a race for the 1 seed, and you have that win over Philly, that's huge. Philly could lose a game to the Cowboys. They could lose a game to the Commanders later in the season, or somebody else if they play a team like the Chiefs or something like that. Then to end it out the last 4 weeks of the season at Arizona, Baltimore on Christmas at home, which will be interesting. But then the last 2 weeks of the season at Washington, and then week 18 at home against the Rams. So there are quite a few wins in there, but there are also quite a few tough games. And then just current standings in the league for the playoffs. I'll go with the AFC first, just really quick. Kansas City's 6-2, 1 seed. All the top 4 seeds in the AFC are 6-2. Kansas City, Miami, Jacksonville, Baltimore. Buffalo is 5-3 at the 5th seed. Currently, Pittsburgh is the 6th seed at 4-3, and then Cleveland at the 7th seed at 4-3. You also have the New York Jets and the Bengals at 4-3, 8 and 9 spots. Bengals, I think they're going to make the playoffs. So somebody like Pittsburgh is going to get knocked out. Jets are a complete wild card, but I think most of those teams that are in there are probably going to make it. I think Pittsburgh's the faker right now. I think Cleveland's defense should get them there, and if Watson comes back and he's healthy. And then in the NFC, Philadelphia is the 1 seed at 7-1. Detroit, the 2 seed, 6-2. Seattle's 5-2 at the 3 seed, and then Atlanta's 4-4. The NFC South is kind of just, weird. Dallas is the 5 seed currently at 5-2. Niners are 5-3. whenever Dallas eventually hits their bye week, the Niners probably pass them up because they have the win on them. Minnesota is currently 4-4, 7 seed, as well as New Orleans. Minnesota is not going to make the playoffs with their quarterback injury. Then you got Tampa Bay 3-4, Rams 3-5, Washington 3-5, and then a bunch of teams that aren't going to make the playoffs. So it's interesting, but Philly and Detroit, I mean, the Niners they don't even play Detroit, so they can't control that. Yep. So if Detroit keeps it up and they keep a win on them, you're looking at potentially the 3rd seed. That's rough. And then right now you have Seattle half game above you with 2 matchups with them coming up. That's huge.
I mean, Seattle could very well lose this week. Who are they playing?
The Ravens.
Yeah, so Seattle could lose this week, and then the Niners will be like tied with them for first.
Yeah.
Because on the bright, really quick. Hey, the Niners really needed a bye this week. They need to get off the field and get healthy and get things figured out.
Get healthy, get an extra week to figure it out 100%.
Steve Wilks absolutely needs to figure it out because whatever he's doing on defense, it's not working. They're playing, I don't know if they're just doing too many stunts on the D line. They're not able to get enough reps where they just like absolutely go after the O line. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if they're getting too cute or too fancy. I'm not an expert to like absolutely tell you exactly the reason why they're struggling. But one thing I noticed is that Isaiah Oliver is struggling. And I thought that he played a decent game against the Bengals, but that's when I only considered the plays where he was making tackles for losses on Jamar Chase. And, there was something else that, there was like another play that he did. Maybe it was like the almost pick, but then on that play that you showed or that we brought up earlier that you took a video of, that was him getting burned by Jamar Chase. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like you can do so many great things, but it's the big plays that absolutely kill you in a football game. So, he tackled very well, as I see Fonzie said in the comments. But Steve Wilks, I don't know if it's just the fact that he's never ran the wide 9 before. And he's being tasked to learn the Niners system and then implement that. It looks like the Niners should have gotten Vic Fangio, but they didn't, and he went to Miami. Mm-hmm. But if the defense doesn't improve after the bye week, I think you give it like maybe if they lose 2 more games, Steve Wilks is out. He's going to be gone. And if he's not, that's on Kyle Shanahan.
I mean, you're not saying during the season, are you?
I am. Can they afford to lose, 2 more games in a row? They lose to Jacksonville. It depends how it looks. If
you lose to Jacksonville and then like Seattle, you're in trouble.
Yeah, because then you got to play Philly.
That's when you have a reason to actually be worried as a Niner fan, because that's when it looks like, oh, we're not winning the division because Seattle now has a game on us and Jacksonville gave us another loss. But I still think the Niners are going to figure it out. I also I feel like they would keep Wilks through the end of the season unless there's somebody that can clearly take over his spot. Maybe Kucerek, is that how you say his name?
Oh, he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah, so
yeah, he says he likes to focus on the defensive line.
Yeah, I can't help but think that getting rid of the defensive coordinator is kind of tough. But maybe there's a linebacker coach or somebody on the squad that can actually take over. But my guess would be the coaches stay in place this season, but I can see this offseason being like, we're going to look for somebody else on defense, for Steve Wilks.
And one more thing I want to address about Steve Wilks that everybody's been talking about is that everybody has been saying that Steve Wilks should move from the booth to the sideline. But really, if the best he's going to give you is from the booth, it could be worse on the sideline. You know what I mean? It could.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, let him be in his comfort zone. If you break him out of it, like it might not work that way either way. You know what I mean? So I don't know. The defense, they just, if they can't get pumped up because their defensive coach isn't on the sideline, then really, why do we have to pay all these great defensive players? Why don't we just like pay a coordinator to, or like, you know what? Can't the Niners pay a hype man on the sideline to really get them pumped up? Like, come on.
Debo should have
Steve
been on the
Wilkes is the
sideline with
eye.
his radio on his shoulder the entire time.
Yeah, but Steve Wilkes is the eyes in the sky, and I thought the defense was going to be better, but we will see if he makes adjustments and improves, and the defense can get back to being dominant. But did anything else happen at the trade deadline before we get out of here, Mike? And I will take just a couple of comments.
Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton, neither of them got traded. I think Rasul Douglas was the last trade. The last thing I just saw was that the Jets signed Roger Saffold, but he was a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing else. No Niner news.
Okay, so before we do get out of here, Fonzie says that he plays on PlayStation. Don't worry, I think they do crossplay now. So if we ever wanted to play a game of Madden or so, you know, I think it's possible. We rushed with the past 4 to 5 seasons under Wilkes. It's zone based, so it's taken away our strength. Hence the Bosa comment. I love BA, but I laughed when the ball hit his helmet on that pass. Yeah, you know, that's the thing. And I saw somebody mention that Brandon Ayuk doesn't like consistently make the big plays. It's like, well, first off, he's not being thrown to. Second off, yeah, the ball did bounce off his face mask when he was thrown to. But just a couple weeks ago against the Browns, he took the ball and ran right up the field and gained like 30 yards plus, and they just missed the field goal and didn't win. So,
yeah, I mean, Brandon Ayuk's been perfectly fine. I think, you know, again, you get everybody healthy, you know, you get Debo out there, start mixing it up more, they'll be fine.
Yeah. Now, I know you're talking about Jordan Mason. I mean, really, you should be saving McCaffrey for late in the run and using Jordan Mason now. They call him JP Mason. So
okay.
Yeah. Our strength, it's funny. Our strength has been running back, but really it's been our run game rather than the running back position, because like we've sort of like phased in and out a bunch of running backs. Like I think the first several seasons of Shanahan's career in SF as a coach, like he had a different leading rusher like every season, like for like the first 4 or 5. Like one year it was Breida, one year it was probably Tevin Coleman. You know, another year it was, might have even been Carlos Hyde that first season. And that feels like forever ago. Right. But yeah, Niners have definitely been, you know, good at running back. And let's see. Well, recently there was an article that said that Kyle would be sitting in defensive sessions throughout practice and film studies. Now, is he going to be actually doing something and being involved? Or, I mean, all right, this is a little concerning that it has to go to this, because I don't think Kyle's been used to this the past couple of years. But, I mean, is he going to, hopefully he offers decent feedback, like, you know, this is what this team is, you know, going to be running, this is what to expect. But Steve Wilkes should know this already. Steve Wilkes should know it already. But I see, like, you know, maybe when it comes to, I don't know, Kyle, do your job. And it sounds like if you're sitting in, you're doing your job. I just hope that you're not like burying your face in the play sheet like you do on the sideline. See, yeah, you know, with the Steve Wilkes edition, I thought we would be better, but you know, we're just not.